when someone feels a bit brave and a bit later, just come up here and be judged by all their peers. You can come up here and have a go at doing this yourself, whatever you want. So I'm just going to start with this paintbrush. I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to probably start with just a stripe like that there, just so you can see how these colours work. And when you do these sort of designs on these moulds, you always want to bear in mind that you have to work with basically primary, secondary, and tertiary colours. So whatever colour I put on first will be the colour you see first. So if I then put yellow over the top of it, obviously the blue is going to be, you know, underneath, if that makes sense, yeah? Or yellow will be underneath, sorry. So you always have to have like a plan in your mind, unlike myself. Now we will temper some cocoa butter soon. Johnny will in a minute anyway, after lunch, so we can just use the spray gun. Like I said, the cocoa butter doesn't need tempering for things like this, but when we're spraying it, obviously we have to treat it the same as with chocolate. Okay, these gloves, not because it stains, it will wash out, but because if you go to all the effort to obviously polish this mould, get rid of any grease, fingerprints, anything like that, you want to get fingerprints all over it, or like I say, you can rub it with your finger. You don't want to put your finger straight in there, do you? It defeats the object. Notice the cling film as well. It's probably going to go a little bit, but you don't want to be spraying this around everywhere and then having to scrub up the sides. So I don't have to clean the sides myself at the end, but I'm not that much of an arsehole to the cleaners, despite what they tell you. So again, just dip your finger. I'm just going to splat this on real randomly. It just creates sort of like a scattered effect. Now when you do this sort of pattern or like decoration technique, same as spraying, you always want to make sure, in a minute, because these moulds obviously flat on the top, it doesn't make too much difference. But obviously you can see the pattern in there, but I don't want to keep all this stuff on the, see on the top there, it's all sitting on there. Right? So, language, sorry. Right. Just want to scrape it off just on a J cloth or a tea towel. Just so all the stuff on top is there. All you can see basically is the pattern, right? Which isn't very clear at the minute. But you have got nothing else on the top here, so when we put the chocolate on, all this colouring isn't going to run into the chocolate, okay? And again, just leave it to set a minute. And now, I'm just going to colour the chocolate and temper it. Now, you do a bit of tempering in college, yeah?
Yeah, but very small.
Do you obviously do like classic
9.
8 grams.
2%? Huh?
8 grams.
Yeah,
8
8
grams.
So,
Plus
you get
8.
so the best way to do that is to have some of these really inconspicuous looking scales, which I doubt any of you have ever seen these sort of scales before. Genuinely, try getting from Amsterdam Airport with all these scales. I kid you not, when I went there last time in December for work, I went for Amsterdam Airport in my hand luggage. I had 4 vacuum packed bags of Agar, Ultratex, all basically white powders, 2 sets of these scales, and I had a can of deodorant which was 130ml. It flagged up, obviously checked everything, took the powders out, took the scales out, didn't even look at them, didn't even test them, they threw my deodorant away because it's 30ml over the limit. It's like, they said no one takes drugs in this Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Well, someone does originally, but anyway, more to the point. So 8 grams, good maths there. So you're going to weigh out 8 grams of this stuff, and keep it to one side. Now the way this product works, yeah, I'll join actually. The way this product works is I'm going to take 400 grams out, so I need 8 grams out basically. That's it. Let's keep that to one side. So, as it says in the book there, no matter whether it's white milk or dark chocolate, take it out at the temperature which is supposed to melt, so this is at 45. And then weigh your chocolate out and then you let it cool to 36. As soon as it hits 36, whether it's milk, dark or white chocolate, you add in your microwave, mix it up, it'll start to melt quite quickly. And then keep mixing it basically until it's obviously, you can't see any lumps of it or anything like that, or any like residue. And when it gets to working temperature, it's tempered perfectly every time. It's like a quick fix. It's like a, yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
So we've tested it quite intensely. We've got this common chef who's never worked chocolate before to do it. And another chef who's done it all the time. The other chef did the seeding method, the common chef used this, and he's come out much better. It's just, let's say commercially, so these chocolates your revenue is £20 per mould. Now if you make 20 to 30 moulds a day, chances are you're going to get a couple with stick, which is going to work out in about 3 or 4 boxes worth, £15–20 wasted. This tub for 600 grams is 12 quid. So it pays its way. This will temper 30 kilos of chocolate perfectly every single time.
Yeah.
Without the, excuse me, recording on the video, without the ball egg basically, you like stand there and mix it around all the time.
Yeah.
So before I weigh this out, I also want to colour this chocolate just so you can see how the colours work. Not just in cocoa butter, but in obviously chocolate as well. And so you always try and use plastic bowls of chocolate. So metal bowls either retain or lose heat quite quickly. So I've got the temperature in here, it's 17 degrees at the minute. So it's not too hot for chocolate work. And obviously if I had a metal bowl in here, like anything else metal out here, it's obviously going to be quite cold. I don't want to put chocolate in there and it cools down too quick. So plastic obviously has got really micro pores, so it's going to let heat in and out, so it doesn't make too much difference. So I'm going to put in just 2 of these just to show how it works. Just melt this down slightly again. If there's possible, weigh out 400 grams. And then Johnny's going to mix this up. So you're just going to see how obviously the colour takes to it. So if you use like gel colours or powder colours before, you know they are good colours, a good way of doing it, but they tend to be a bit grainy sometimes. The good thing about this product here is it takes from the effect where it makes the chocolate or whatever you're colouring look like it's always been that colour. When these are turned out, you always leave them like an airtight container, or if you want to put them in a fridge, 10–11 degree display fridge. That's what you see in patisserie shops, they're not actually that cold. Moisture will affect obviously the finish. If water gets in here, if we put even a drop of water in this now, it will set up, become like Play-Doh. It'll be awful. And Johnny, let's do it all again. Anyone got any questions so far whilst I wait 3 degrees? 5 minutes to do. Watch me do this. Any question about anything?
When you're tempering, what's actually happening to the crystals in the chocolate?
So by moving it around, obviously, the cocoa crystals you can't see. If you could see them, obviously they'd look like this. That's the good thing about my cryo. If you could take the crystals out of this chocolate, this is what they'd look like. Let's go up the side. They're now actually being dispersed naturally, whereas if when I melted this chocolate, there was possibly, again, if you could dissect it and see through it some sort of X-ray, whatever, there'd probably be a load of lump crystals on one side and nothing on the other side. So if you set it, it would set, it would be tempered, but eventually, when it started to oxidise, you'd have white marks on one side. So the idea is now just to move it around so evenly that you basically just set and disperse as evenly as possible. To the point where some chefs, if you're doing it with about 1 kilo or more, best way to do it is literally to use like a hand blender, like a Bamex, because that's just going to blend it up naturally. So some people think that's going to mess the chocolate up, and it's going to whip it or whatever, but obviously it's chocolate at the end of the day. It's not going to mess it at all. So if you, that's advice for use a hand blender if you can. And if you've heard of Mark Tillett, that guy, he won Bake Off Professionals, that was creme de la first.
Yeah.
He works with Calabay, he does a lot of demos here. He'll use a hand blender. That. And it'll start to melt. Now Johnny will do that and tell you. Now this product here, right, so it's my price, here's a steak on the front. This is Calabay trying to reach out to all aspects of the kitchen. Desperation, I see that. That this product will dissolve at 33 degrees. It won't dissolve any sort of like lower than that. But it won't burn until it gets to 280 degrees. Right, so a lot of chefs now are using this as like a an oil and butter substitute. So they pour it in a pan, put the steak in it, and it'll just cook it. There'll be no horrible sort of fatty or extra calories. It's just cocoa butter basically. So it won't affect the taste. And it's a healthier way of frying on meats. But it's obviously designed for chocolate more than anything else because it's cocoa butter. But the idea of it is again, so we had it in at 36, between 35 and 36. If you add it in about 37, 38, if you don't like split jus college, like split chicken sauces. We get the oil on the top and the view on the bottom. It would already be a lot thicker than this. Obviously, the working temperature is dark as 32. So when you use these sort of products, again like chocolate, anything like this, obviously you want the work temperature to be 29. You always want to bear in mind as well what you're going to do with it when you use it. So obviously I'm going to put it in this piping bag. I know it's plastic-free Dev and all this sort of stuff nowadays, but I beg you not to use reusable piping bags for chocolate, right? So say water is not your friend, and they're disgusting for starters. And yeah, a little bit of plastic going home. If you recycle it. So my point is, I was putting it in a piping bag, which is obviously a cold plastic bag. It may change the temperature slightly more. So I put it in there just above the working temperature, and that in turn will bring it down even more. Again, I haven't used this chocolate that much. That's my honest opinion on it. I don't know what it's like. Tony will come in and say it's amazing, he wants you to buy it now. That's because Tony's a business. So again, cling film, because I don't want to be cleaning the side too much. We're approaching what they call a money shot, by the way. So we charge cameras. So again, you got your mould, which has set. Like I said, when chocolates are made, or before they're made, chocolate doesn't go in the fridge, right? But I will put this in the fridge in a minute. It helps the crystallisation process. I'll describe obviously different ways you make your chocolates. If we was in a commercial environment, you would fill these, leave them for a couple of hours, time. Some chefs, if you're making 1,000, it takes about 8 hours to do it, because you let it all set naturally at normal temperatures. And we don't have 8 hours today, because I don't have that much to tell you. Not positive stuff anyway. So that's just gone 28 and a half. Now this part here, I'll try and talk as I do it. But you see, the best way to see if it's tempered is it starts to set up quite quick, right around the sides. It's going all tacky already. What you have to remember this is quite a deep mould, unlike these other ones. Now a lot of chefs will fill these halfway and then start doing all this sort of stuff, okay? Now, there's nothing too wrong with that, apart from if you work it out, this is the top of the chocolate. If you do that, it's going to cover it and tip it out. Chances are it could be a bit thicker on the top than it is all the way around it, okay? So what you want to do is try and fill them as much to the top as possible, so it gives you more time for the chocolate to set, and it allows the fact that they're all going to be the same consistency. Now again, the longer you leave these in the mould once you pipe them, before you tip the excess out, which is called casting your shells, and let it set before you fill it and then cap them off, which we'll go over in a minute. All these fun terminology got get pumped into your brain today. The longer you leave it, obviously the thicker the shells are going to be. We're talking minutes, like not seconds, okay? So you'll see various ways in it. You'll see again, try and fit as much to the top as possible. You've got to bear in mind that these moulds. Right, so give it a tap on the side. If you can see it, I know you can't see that side, you see the air bubbles on top here. They've come up from the base of what would be the display side. If you didn't do that, obviously you might have some little holes in the top. Now once you're sure all the bubbles are out, like I said, the longer I leave these, the thicker the shells will be. But like I said, I'd have to go to the toilet, go for a cigarette break, whatever, for it to make any sort of major difference. Smokers are good for you, so you don't do that anyway. So you'd leave these for a bit. But once you're happy with them, let's say you want the shells to be as fit as possible. And then, it depends on how you want to do this. I'm right-handed, but I always direct it with my left. And then one fluid motion, once you make sure they're all covered, the money shot comes, right? So it's on one side. Never use this side of it. I know people doing that and break my moulds. So all the excess comes out in a nice sort of fluid motion, you see? So you've got the bowl, you need that chocolate again soon. So you can see nice sort of shells. You can see the pattern a bit more clear now, obviously the yellow, blue and the white. Now again, just leave these on an acetate sheet here. The acetate sheet we need again soon. Again, a lovely bit of plastic. See the chocolate's already starting to thicken up, right? that's a good sign that Johnny mixed the chocolate nice. It's still going to lift home. But again, we need this chocolate still. So this is where the heat gun comes in handy. If this chocolate starts to set before you use it or now, so you can still, it's still tempered, so we bring it back up to the working temperature slightly. In the meantime, we chuck these in the fridge just to help with the crystallisation. Again, the acetate's used. So obviously when I put it face down like that, so obviously the excess chocolate, you can make it yourself. It's basically sugar which has been taken to a certain temperature with water and a bit of lemon juice. So it gets to a stage where, it's a little bit dirty I think actually. Yeah, look. It's like, it never sets, right? So yeah, it never sets, so you can use it as like a sorbet stabiliser. We use it in obviously ganaches. The purpose for it in this recipe, use only about 10% invert sugar to the quantity of liquid. So basically the idea of this is if you bite into chocolate it's rock hard and you break your teeth. This always keep it a consistency which isn't gooey and it's going to drip down your top, but it's not going to, again, it's not going to send you to the dentist either. How's that looking, Joey? Questions on that? Okay. Like I said, when it comes to making these chocolates, not these chocolatiers who just do it in their own sort of leisurely time, which is fine if that's all you've got to do. Where they'll do it, they'll turn out there, it'll take about 15-20 minutes, and it'll just set. And then you'll make your ganache. And the idea of these chocolates, if anyone's ever bought these sort of chocolates from any sort of shop, the filling should be near enough to the top to the point where the shell is the same thickness as the base. Okay, there's no point biting into a chocolate and getting like almost an inch of chocolate on the bottom of it. But the idea to do that is obviously fill these chocolates all the way to the top, and then you have to leave it again for another hour or two whilst the ganache sort of sets in natural sort of circumstances. So for demo purposes, we usually fill these about 3/4 of the way, so that when we cap them off, which is when we seal them off the bottoms, I call it the guts don't start spilling out. So obviously the ganache is much sort of lighter than the chocolate when it's applied, so obviously the ganache will start pulling out the top if it hasn't set properly. But just bear in mind if you make these chocolates commercially or whatever, they the base should be the same thickness as the shell. Just for this purpose, I'll fill them about 3/4 of the way. Always use a chopping board as well. Unfortunately here we have a lovely oven. You see this oven? You can, when you've got stuff in there, you press the button, you can watch it on the screen there. But I can also send it to that TV up there, right? This oven costs about 10 grand, but we don't have a chopping board. We don't have a whisk, these are all my whisks. It's priorities. You can watch your, watch something on TV while you're eating lunch. So, it's just a vanilla ganache we made this morning. I'm going to fill it just over sort of like 3/4. Again, the fillings you can put whatever you want in these. Sorry if you can't see. Right, so the next part, right, so a lot of chefs do this completely different. So some chefs now will just pour this over the top and use a palette knife and just sort of fill in the gaps, right? I like to be a bit more wasteful than that. Plus, another thing, right, this is I can never think of a better metaphor, so bear with me, I've said it about 100 times, it's like great on me now. But this chocolate around here is obviously dry, right? That's set enough. It hasn't contracted, and so you can still see the mould. But it's set enough so that obviously if I pour this wet chocolate on, it will set, it will stick to each other and it will then obviously turn out eventually. But the point of that is obviously these chocolates, if you use UHT cream like we have, these chocolates can have a shelf life of up to 21 days, okay, once they're made. So the idea is once it's stuck on there, if you stick two things together with, you imagine like melted chocolate or blue tack, eventually it's going to slip off, right? As it starts to get a bit older, they're going to start moving off the base. The way to counteract that is to just literally use the blowtorch, give the top a little blow so you can see where it was set, it's now just made it a little bit softer. The idea behind that is, like I say, if you stick something to it, like if you run down the stairs, for example, in your home, and your wooden floor downstairs and someone's mopped the floor and ain't told you and you've got socks on, you're going to hurt yourself and break your neck, right? But if you've got some weird, I don't know what you do, like, I'm not judging anyone, but if you've got wet socks on, right, and you're running down that stairs and someone's mopped the floor, you're going to stick. It's like friction, isn't it? You're not going to slip as much. So the idea of making this wet again with the chocolate, it's not going to stick as such, but it's going to then sort of mould in and melt, and it's going to be one piece, okay? So it's going to create friction, and you're not going to slip and break it there. You've got wet socks as well, assess your life a bit. But like I say, instead of piping these on each one and scraping with a palette knife, I like to do it a bit more uncontrolled and make sure it's at a good temperature. If I got an idea. And randomly just pour this on top. Make sure the first few layers are definitely covered. See what I mean when the ganache starts to move because it's not set properly? If I feel these any higher, then we have an issue right now. But that's enough. Nice and controlled, isn't it? Now, obviously in a commercial environment, I say this obviously because there's lecturer sat in front of me here. Any chocolate which comes off in a minute would keep, store, and save it and use it again, or make a lemon ganache or a lemon mousse or whatever. Obviously, because this chocolate's all paid for demo purposes, there will be a little bit of wastage. So you get your acetate sheet from earlier, right? There's another thing. If anyone bought these sort of chocolates from somewhere before, been in Paris or London or somewhere, you get these chocolates, right? The idea is they're going to be shiny on the top, right? A lot of chefs will just put the chocolate on without this acetate and scrape it off. So when you buy the chocolates, they look really nice on top and shiny, but on the base they've oxidised. Tempered chocolate won't stay shiny unless it's pressed between acetate or polycarbonate. Right? It will oxidise. It will still have a crisp snap to it, but it will go sort of like a matte effect. Now I use the acetate, one because it's clean and it's easier as you'll see, but two because once it's on there it's going to create another shine on the white base as well as obviously on the top. Not as good, but it won't look as naff as some real curly or something like that, I don't know, no names. So obviously make sure these first few are covered, and in one swift motion, press hard enough, cap them all off in one go, see? So it's nice and even. And any excess, let's take it off the sides. And this will be the chocolate that we use. Wood. Now make sure it's not got all over the base. But you see here, I'll show you this. You see what's happening here? Right, so when chocolate tempers, it contracts, right? So it shortens, becomes smaller. So see the patterns now, it's all like looking through a window out there, isn't it? Just that, that's weird. It's opaque, isn't it? That's cool. You can see it, but you can't see it. So as it contracts, they start to pull away. It shows obviously it's tempered and the mould's been polished. Obviously that means obviously the colour we sprayed on there as well also pulls away. Painted on there, sorry. They obviously need a little bit longer. I'll try and force one of them out now so you can see. See the difference here? That's the best way to show you here. See that one there? Compared to these? Yeah. That one hasn't contracted yet. They're contracting, however they want, random patterns really. You see obviously the difference in that, yeah?